All right, YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Go ahead and subscribe to Vernon Speed Sports Auburn. Also, get in tune with the memberships. We got a couple of members already. Definitely appreciate that. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger War Eagle. Let's go ahead and cut to the chase. Bryan Harsin, year one. A lot of adversity. This is a guy that came from Boise State, had a pretty nice career there. Could have rolled it out into the sunset at Boise State and had what a lot of folks would perceive as a successful career. I mean, he would have gone to a bowl game pretty much every year because of the Nike contract, because of the blue field, because of all of those things in Boise State. He would have been successful in his own right out in Boise, Idaho. So, rewind back to 2020, Gus Malzahn is fired from Auburn. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you, and I've told you guys this in a lot of videos, I thought Gus Malzahn being terminated at Auburn, I mean, it was a shock to me. As a matter of fact, I woke up to the news. One of my helpers or one of my contributors to the channel actually text messaged me. I was asleep. I was taking a nap. I think it was a Sunday afternoon. And the last thing that I thought would come across is Gus Malzahn being fired. Okay, so Gus Malzahn being fired. So who do you pick? Gus Malzahn didn't have a losing season, wasn't in an embarrassing situation, and, won the game against Mississippi State. So I'm thinking, well, okay, you fire Gus Malzahn, who do you pick? A lot of names came across the desk of Alan Green. And see, that's what you guys love. You love the names. You love the names. You love, the Hugh Freeze and the Lane Kiffins. You love all that. You think that, see, what you want is a savior for the Auburn program. You want a situation to where, hey, Auburn has sucked for a couple of years or maybe one, but then you want to all of a sudden be back into the phase of relevance. And that's what Gene Chizik gave you. One bad year, next year, in the national championship game, wins the national championship, but implodes the 2 years following. Gus Malzahn, now I'll say this. I genuinely like Gus Malzahn as a coach. I don't have any proof that the boosters at Auburn held him back. Maybe some of you all do. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think Gus Malzahn did a relatively okay job as the coach at Auburn. Had Auburn in the national championship game in 2013. Had Auburn pretty much in the conversation from 2016 beyond at certain points, but ultimately gets terminated, and he's enjoying himself as the head coach of UCF and will probably be a member of the Big 12 conference as it realigns, because Texas and Oklahoma will be vacating that conference. So here we are, 2022, headed into year two of Bryan Harsin's era, a very tumultuous offseason for Bryan Harsin. I mean, it couldn't get any worse than this. I mean, you question the man's integrity. You question the man's situation with his home life and the prospect of some egregious, stuff going on as far as with maybe a secretary, all that stuff. And now Bryan Harsin is back at Auburn as the head coach for his second year. And to what my wondering eyes would appear, the blame game continues for Bryan Harsin. Bryan Harsin is actually in the process are being implicated as a source as to why Auburn's current draft class is what it is. Guys that he didn't recruit, or guys that he had to acquire via the transfer portal. Now Bryan Harsin is the reason that Auburn can't get anybody in the draft. Roger McCreary, we knew, would be among the top of the draft class. We knew he was the most marketable player in the class, and even so, he just drops 2 spots out of the first round pick spot at 35, and Roger McCreary is headed to the Tennessee Titans. But let's talk about the other draft picks, though, that Bryan Harsin is supposed to be at fault as to why these guys did get outright drafted. One, Smoke Monday. We knew going into this season that there was a possibility that Smoke Monday would not be drafted outright. Now, we figured at best, and even some of the draft prospects thought at best that Smoke Monday would be a very late pick. One, because, listen, Smoke Monday is an excellent college football player. He plays the game with a lot of tenacity. I have a lot of respect for Smoke Monday. But his skill set may not transfer over to the NFL. Even as such, Mel Kiper even said, hey, look, this guy might not even be draftable. Not because he's not a good football player, but because of what is expected in the NFL, he might not be able to effectively produce. And you saw that on a lot of occasions. He produced, but then in the big time situations against big time players, how many times did you see Smoke Monday trailing in the dust? That's not to say anything bad about Smoke Monday, because I think this guy's a hard worker. I think he's a very equitable player in college football. And am I a fan of Smoke Monday? Hell yeah, I'm a fan of Smoke Monday. For sure. Was a fan of him since he stepped foot on the campus. But we have to talk business here. NFL, what do you expect? Who is Smoke Monday going to guard? Up at the line of scrimmage? Yes, I think Smoke Monday is one of the best in the business. Can you convert him into, say, what you did with Jamie and Sherwood? Can you do that? If you can do that, maybe we can have a conversation. But anything outside of having to guard some of these elite wide receivers, no, I just don't see it. So, as we move on to the undrafted free agents for Auburn, I mean, come on, man. Come on. Come on, let's not do this. Let's not blame Bryan Harsin for this. Let's not continue to use Bryan Harsin as a scapegoat for something that has been developing over the last few years. So you're going to blame Bryan Harsin for this draft class. You're going to blame Bryan Harsin for a mediocre season that, I'll tell you what, I'm not windmilling for Bryan Harsin under any circumstances. I'm not sunshine pumping for Bryan Harsin. I'm not doing that tonight. Because you own what you sign up for. However, let's be fair. Let's be fair. All the guys that transferred out of last year to other schools, Bryan Harsin had to kind of weasel through the transfer portal. You're looking at a very bad season last year. I understand you guys are tired of Alabama being superior. You're probably tired of Georgia being superior too. And you're probably tired of the fact that even some of the menial schools are starting to kind of out-recruit Auburn as well. But you got to give the man some time. And I just don't get there was an article that came out that implicated Bryan Harsin on this abysmal draft class. Auburn is a team that I think that traditionally should expect to compete for at least the divisional championship every year. I think they have the Auburn has the resources. Auburn geographically can do that every year. And that says a lot for the SEC West or the SEC divisional in particular, because you have a national championship team, Georgia, that did not win the SEC conference championship this year. So try that on for your mental size. But this undrafted free agent thing, you can't put that on Harsin. You can't. I don't think you can with a straight face, unless you just genuinely dislike him. And that's what we do as humans. I get it. When you don't like someone, nothing slides. He's the head coach. Hey, draft class sucks. It's his fault. But we can't do that in this situation. Let me know what you think about this video. We got some more stuff coming up on tomorrow. Please become a member. Also, subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. War Eagle.